Good Monday makers. My name is Jake, and in today's episode of Maker Pipe Monday, we're looking at a DIY disc golf caddy, a rotating squirrel feeder, a hydroponic tomato stand, a complete prep area for grilling, and a really cool Hotwheel track, lighting, and camera rig built by a teacher who's doing a really cool STEM project. So there's a lot of interesting things today, cool techniques and hacks. Let's jump right in and check them out. First up is this project from Tim. Said he saw a couple of disc golf carts in the community and got inspired and wanted to make his own, which is really cool. And we can get some details here. You can kind of see how he built it. So as far as maker pipe goes, there's a 90-degree connector there and there. And then it looks like he used some compression fittings along with a pre-bent 90 here on both sides, which is really cool and a great use. If you don't know, you can get pre-bent 90s, and they're just a small section like that. You can get those at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're a little expensive, but they do save you from having to buy a bender if you're looking to do something on this scale. And you can see that he connected those pre-bent 90s with the compression fittings. You can also get locally off the shelf to add a nice corner or kind of rounded edge here in the front. And then that goes all the way down. And it looks like he used an interesting method to make a lot of connections. So you can see he squished the ends of conduit here on the connections and then just bolted through the conduit into the squished end of the conduit. And he did that for a lot of connections you can see there. And then if we look at the back, we can see how he did the axle. If I'm not mistaken, I think the axle is attached with 2-hole straps, which is interesting, but it just wraps around the pipe and then there's a bolt or, like a self-tapping screw or something going through the axle. I believe that's how it's attached. It might be crossover clamps. I can't really see, but I'm pretty sure. But we've done a couple of videos on making an axle, and it's a really simple method. There's a really simple hack for doing that, and it looks like he did that same method for the axle. Then he just used the 2-hole straps or a different method to attach it. Crossover clamps work well for that. We've seen that on Axel's cart, for example, and that's really cool. And then another cool hack you can see here is it looks like this top handle is made to come out, maybe to make it easier to kind of, stow it away in a car or something whenever you're going to the disc golf course. But it looks like you just undo this bolt here or maybe this pin and you can take the top handle off, which is really neat. A lot of cool tricks in there. Great build, Tim. Really appreciate you sharing that. Next up is a rotating squirrel feeder from Stewart. This is really interesting. So if you garden or if you have, bird feeders, I'm sure you're well aware of the pesky squirrels that come into your garden or on the bird feeder and they steal the birds' food. Well, instead of trying to constantly fight them off in elaborate ways, you can actually get what's called a Squirrel Go Round, which I just found out about. And basically, it's a squirrel feeder, but it's kind of challenging to get to. So the squirrels kind of focus on that and spend their time trying to overcome that challenge to get the squirrel food instead of, getting the bird seed and the bird food, which is really interesting. And Stuart made this DIY version, and it's really interesting. You can see here it is in action, and it's really simple the way he built it. It's just one connector, but he incorporated a lot of cool hacks into this. And it looks really cool just spinning there, and I could just imagine a squirrel trying to conquer that and get some food. I'm sure that's fun to watch. But you can see here that in order to get that spinning motion, he found some bearings that are slightly smaller than 1 inch in diameter, and he stacked a couple of those and then used one of the extra friction bands around those to create kind of a conduit replacement that's a bearing that he could put a bolt through here, and that sits in the middle of the connector. And here it is here, kind of tightening it a little bit. And then just continues to do that. And then he adds the 4 pipes sticking out of it. And that creates kind of the arms for the spinning part. And then he's got these wooden dowels or maybe corks that actually go inside the ends of the connectors on the end of those 4 arms coming off of it, which is really interesting. And then through that he attached a bolt and nut, and then I think that's how he attached the bird feeder to that. And here it is kind of fully assembled. He's just got to add the actual feeder to it, or the squirrel feeders to it. And then the bolt goes through that and into the wood, and that bolt is, inside the bearing, and that's what's allowing it to spin. And yeah, there you can see the squirrel feed there on the ends, and then again in action, here it is spinning around. That's really cool. A lot of interesting things. I didn't even know that squirrel feeding existed. I mean, I guess so, but it makes sense if you're trying to keep them away from the bird feed and the bird seed. So that's really cool, Stuart. Thanks for sharing that. It was really awesome to see. Next up is a tomato stand with a trellis built for a Kratky hydroponic method. And I was unaware of this, so I Googled it, And the Kratky method is a form of passive hydroponics, which means there's no need to change out the water. I'm just reading this definition here. So there's no concern about rejuvenating the oxygen for the plants. As the plant grows, the water level drops, creating airspace for the roots. When the plant is ready for harvest, the nutrient filled water is nearly used up. So that's really cool. Really interesting method, because normally you have a pump that continuously runs water through, and then more water is sent through the the pipes and everything. But this is kind of just they call it passive hydroponics. Apparently, you learn something new every day. This is new to me, which is really cool part of the what we do, because we kind of learn a lot about a lot of different hobbies, and it's really awesome to see all the different things that people do for their hobbies and share that with us, and we get to learn too. So that's really awesome. But for this passive hydroponics, the Kratky method, he wanted to build a tomato stand for the buckets here. And if we go here, we can see here's the mini model, which is a good breakdown of the connectors. So at the top here, there's 4 90-degree connectors, and that's just creating the the rectangle space for those top. And then in the back 90s, there's a vertical that goes all the way up and connects to a T connector, and he's got that on both sides, and then the T connectors up here. And then there's a horizontal going across from those 2 T connectors, and then also the 2 horizontals here. And then we'll kind of reset this and look. And then at the bottom, he's just using T connectors to add the side-to-side bracing here with T connectors. There's 4 total down there. And then a cross pipe just for, these actually supports the bucket, or the buckets. This pipe supports the buckets, and that's just attached with a T connector the same way. So if we look here, we can kind of see here it is fully built without the buckets, and it looks like it's got trellis netting on the back. It's kind of hard to see with the the woods back there, but you can see he's got zip ties all the way up and down attaching the netting. And then here he just used his mini model as a reference and made the full design. And he said he got these kind of canopy flanges or some kind of flanges that have a set screw that he used for the feet. He said one of them failed. The weld actually failed, so he said he might be changing those out for a different one, or just adding different feet, or even casters, he said, to roll it around later on. But it looks like it's working great, and it's really awesome to see. And like I said, that bottom pipe here is what's supporting the buckets underneath. And then you just have the passive hydroponics, so you just fill these up with the nutrient water, and then grow your tomatoes that way. So that's really cool. Really interesting to learn about that method, and it looks like it's a great setup, and good luck. Hope you grow a lot of tomatoes. That's really cool to see. Next up is a project in the Facebook group, and this is from Jay, and we can see here, this is kind of a pre-version, or kind of in progress version of it. And you can see there's a lot of connectors. It looks like he painted the pipes black, and it looks really good. And if we go here, we can see kind of how he put it together. So you've got a lot of connectors. I see a lot of T connectors. Looks like T's going all the way up the top. And he's got one, there's a vertical, there's a vertical. So there's 5 verticals total. And then this side actually allows the grill to sit in place here in this hole here. And then he's got this other area that he put a top on top of to create the prep area. But there's a lot of T connectors, and it looks like 90s kind of in the corners. Usually 90s are used to make corner connections, so you'll see those a lot in in these corners here all the way around. But we can see, let's go to the other picture and look from this side. So this is the side with the grill in place. You can kind of see it sits kind of nestled in there. It looks good. And then again, we've got 90s wherever we've got corners here. And then it looks like T connectors just to add support pipes wherever needed, up and down the back there. And that looks really good. And then we can kind of see a finished picture here. And it looks really awesome. He added some stained wood, some kind of corrugated steel, and he added that prep top. And then even these light systems are really cool. So he used T connectors to kind of create these light frames that come off and support these lights. It looks really beautiful. It'll be a great area to kind of prep food and grill, and it just looks really good. So that's awesome, Jay. Thanks so much for sharing that. It's a great build. I love seeing it. Next up is another project in the Facebook group, and this is from Jim, or also known as Coach James. And he said that he does a science program that teaches kids physics and aerodynamics through Hotwheel cars, which is really cool. And he used to do it outside, but when COVID and everything like that, he had to go inside, and he had some challenges. It takes up a lot of space for this 25-foot track, I believe it is. Yeah, 25-foot track indoors. So what he did was use MakerPipe to kind of create this framework you can see here that's 25 by 3 that goes all the way down the hallway and sits over top of the racetrack. and it looks really cool. Here's kind of the perspective from the track, and it looks like there's a lot of T connectors, and yeah, it looks like a lot of T connectors. I think this is a 90 here in the corners. And then there's T connectors going across, and he just added camera mounts and light mounts wherever needed. And he said he was able to quickly add supports if he needed to, which is really great. And then you can see he's got a nice lighting setup going all the way down using T connectors to support those lights. And it looks really great. And then here's kind of another perspective of it from the track, and you can kind of see underneath how he did it. It looks like the T connectors just send a vertical down, and then he's got a flange or a foot here that just kind of rests on the ground. It looks really awesome and allowed him to do a lot of cool angles and different things for this racetrack that he can do for the videos. And here I've got his YouTube channel pulled up. Definitely check out his YouTube channel. It's all about aerodynamics. It'll be linked down below, as well as his Instagram. Definitely follow him on Instagram. You actually vote on the cars on Instagram, and then he uses those for the testing and for the racing here on the YouTube channel. So definitely follow the Instagram, check out the cars, you can vote, and then he'll come back here. And he's got some great visuals. You can see, I love the kind of the breakdown of the cars. You can see kind of the weight. You can see who on Instagram sponsored it and chose it. And then it's got a nice spinning shot here with a lot of lights. And it's really cool. And then you can kind of see here, here's the maker pipe set up over top of the track. And then he actually does racing here. We'll see. I think he's about to start one. There it goes. And then so you can see he's got 3 different camera angles that kind of catches the start, halfway down, and then the very end. He's got a cool light setup that lets you know who won the race. And it's just really awesome. I can see how this would be super fun for kids to learn, aerodynamics, physics, and just have fun while doing it. So that's really awesome, Jim, or Coach James, as he's known. So again, check out his Instagram link down below and the YouTube channel, doing a lot of cool stuff. That's all the projects I have for you this week. Just like his YouTube channel, everything will be linked down below. If you want to check out any of the builds in further detail, see the original post and the original pictures, you can do that through the links. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you in the next video.